the studio with me, I have Deacon Bill Radio, who I've been wanting to get in here and so excited that he's here. Welcome, Deacon Radio.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about a couple things. Well, hopefully a couple things. I think we can get both of them in 20 minutes, but we'll see. We're going to talk about a new ministry that you have been a part of. First, it's kind of a neat thing, and I want to make sure people know about it. And then if we have some time, we'll talk about the Church Militant and the three, it's called states of the church, right?
Right.
Did I get that right? Okay.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. So, all right, Deacon Radio, will you tell us just a little bit about yourself real quick?
Okay. Actually, in a couple of weeks, my wife Deb and I will have been married 49 years.
Oh, my goodness.
So
wow.
We're blessed in that way. We have 3 boys, all, of course, adults now,
Sure.
and all doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have 7 grandchildren.
Oh, boy.
And I grew up Catholic. My wife converted, and we just feel very blessed to be here in Sioux Falls and at the cathedral.
Yeah. What did you do for a regular job?
Well, for a while, I was a city manager, so I
Okay.
have my master's in public administration.
Okay.
And then I worked for a not-for-profit electric utility here in Sioux Falls as their communications director.
Wow, nice. So you're kind of familiar with what we're doing around here.
A little bit.
Very cool. All right. So I'm going to have you and your wife come back at some point to tell your story of how you became a deacon.
Would love to do that.
Yeah, people love to hear that. They love to hear the wife's viewpoint of how that all came about and how you live that life together, because it's really a couple thing. It's not just one person thing. So we'll have you back again for that. But
Great.
So, all right, did you start this ministry?
No, I did not.
Okay. You've been a part of it, though. So
yes.
This is a ministry. It's called the Angel Lee Cronin Memorial Fund, correct?
That's correct.
So will you tell us what this is and how this came about?
Okay. Actually, the Angel Lee Cronin Memorial Fund has been around a while, and it was started by Deacon Harold Pardue, who is now retired, and he handed it off to me. How it started was with a woman who lost a child at birth or very young. I can't remember which. And she wanted to do something as a memorial to her baby, who she named Angel Lee. And so she and Deacon Harold kind of worked together to set up this fund called the Angel Lee Cronin Memorial Fund. And it's strictly funded by contributions from people that it moves their heart to contribute. And it's available to any young couple that loses a baby prematurely,
right,
or even as a small infant.
Okay. So you're talking before birth or shortly after birth,
correct.
Usually. Okay.
Correct. And these funds then are combined with, it's a beautiful partnership we have with a couple other companies in town, Miller Funeral Home and Gibson Monument and the Angel Lee Cronin Fund, to help those couples who are grieving the loss of their child and don't really have the resources to provide a proper burial.
Sure.
So they can come to us, they can come to the funeral home, and we'll help them through all the arrangements. We'll provide a casket. St. Michael's Cemetery will provide a plot for the baby. Gibson Monument provides a marker. And all that can be coordinated through us with the Angel Lee Cronin Fund. So anybody that would like to contribute or take advantage of these funds can contact me here at the cathedral office, and we'll work with them to make sure that their child gets a proper burial.
Right. I think for a lot of parents that are in that situation, they just don't really know what to do, or what is the appropriate thing to do? What is everybody else doing? What's the norm? And so sometimes they're afraid to ask questions, aren't they?
Well, that's a really good point, and I'd like to, as part of the answer to that question, talk about sort of a spin-off of this ministry as well. You know, for so many years, and even sadly still today, young couples and young mothers lose a child stillborn or prematurely, and they don't even really, in their grief in the moment, think about how to take care of this child.
Right.
And so a lot of times the child is just disposed of without the couple or the mother actually even being able to ask for it to get a proper burial.
Yes.
And so
sometimes there's not a lot of guidance from the hospital.
That's right.
Folks.
That's right. Or even education prematurely about what's happening.
Especially if there's something known kind of happening to kind of get them ready for it. Yeah.
That's right. So, you know, we actually also, in collaboration with St. Michael's Cemetery, there is a columbarium that has been built at the cemetery, mostly with funds from the 2 hospitals in town, to commit these children to the columbarium as a proper burial. And every month or 2, we gather at St. Michael's to do a committal service for all the babies that have died and been saved for this proper burial. And you know, typically, in a typical month when we do this committal service, we'll have anywhere from 30 to 50 babies each time.
Oh my goodness. I didn't expect you to say that number. I was going to ask you what that number was, and I expected it to be much lower than that. Yeah, that's incredible.
We've been doing this. Well, I've been a deacon now for 6 years, and I've been doing this most of that time. And it's hundreds of babies that are in that columbarium now. And we gather at that point. There's some people that come to participate in that and pray in that service. And sadly, for a long, long time, the hospitals didn't even tell the parents that this was happening. But we've broken through that now.
Oh, good.
And so
that's
parents
really important.
Yeah, they're free to come for that closure and to participate in that burial. And it's been just an incredibly emotional and touching ministry that I feel so privileged to just be a part of.
Sure. I imagine this is not limited to just Catholic families.
That is correct.
It's everybody, because I would imagine otherwise you probably would have fewer.
That is correct. And it also, Renee, is not limited to St. Michael's Cemetery.
Okay.
Although we may have a few more hoops to go through. But I say that particularly because a lot of our Catholic parishes beyond Sioux Falls, I'm sure, are not aware at all of this ministry and may have from time to time a couple that would be in need of this. And we can help, just with funds or in helping them with the burial.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a limit to how young, let's say that a woman has a miscarriage at 3 or 4 months, that is also included, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. That's good to know, because it's really you're in a position where you just don't really know what to do or what is the right thing. And sometimes you don't get a lot of help and you don't really know where to go to find out. So can they contact you?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Yes, right here at the cathedral office. Just call the office and ask for me. And if I'm not in, leave a message and I'll get back to them.
Right.
Sadly, Renee, for so many years, all these babies were just considered medical waste and just disposed of with all kinds of other medical waste. And our goal is to minimize that and to eliminate it whenever we're able to.
Absolutely, because they deserve a proper burial and a little prayer and respect from all of us. So what kind of, when you got involved in this, did you have a choice? Like, was this something you kind of were drawn to? or is this something that was offered to you and you were drawn to it after?
Oh, great question. Of course, I had a choice. This was something that was handed on to me by Deacon Harold as he was retiring. And interestingly enough, right away, I remembered the babies that my mother lost.
Oh, sure.
And she lost several. And one of them was born alive, but died within a couple hours.
Sure.
When I was a child, and I remember actually going to the cemetery to visit her grave. And we were having a party one year for my folks for like their 60th wedding anniversary. And one of my sisters thought we would play this little game, and where everybody was given these questions and asked to answer them however they chose. And one of the questions, kind of a very popular question at things like this is, if you could talk to any one person in the world that ever lived, other than Jesus Christ, because it's an easy
Everyone's
answer.
Everyone's going to say Jesus.
Yeah. Who would it be?
Right.
And, we were going around the room, and a lot of us had kind of funny answers or interesting answers or whatever. And we got to my mother, and she said, I would like to talk to little Mary, which is the baby that she lost a couple hours after birth. And it occurred to me, she's been married 60 years, and she's never stopped grieving.
Right.
She's never forgotten this child, and how it's like that for so many women as they grow older and they remember those days. And I just felt I could not say no to this ministry.
Right. It called to you, which is good. What has it been like for you? Has there been some really times that have really stood out to you in doing this, or any stories you can think of?
Well, I think just generally, the emotions that are poured out of parents that come to the committal is so really affirming for me that we are doing something to help them through this time. And then, I guess just the fact that it's available for people to not only participate in, but to contribute to if they would like to become a part of this ministry.
Right. Have you seen anything specific in the people that you've helped? Is there any stories that you can tell us that you saw a big impact on them?
Well, there was one family that had not known about the program when they were in the hospital having the miscarriage.
Sure.
And they had to ask a little bit to find out how to take care of this child. They wanted a proper burial, and they didn't know how to go about it.
Yeah.
And of course, the hospital guided them through that, and they came to the burial, and they were so thankful because they said, we didn't know what was going to happen to our baby.
Right.
And then, of course, there's all the families that come to the burial, not just the parents, but their other children and even the grandparents. And so it just kind of affirms for me that these losses are not limited to one or two people.
Right. They aren't. It's a part of the family that will forever not be there.
Right.
So yeah, that's huge. So if someone wants to get involved, want to just help with the ministry, they can also contact you.
Yes.
I imagine.
Yes.
So call the cathedral office. I don't know what their number is. Do you know what the number is, offhand?
336-7390.
I was going to say, I don't call the cathedral office very often.
Yeah, I always have to hesitate a moment myself.
I just walk down the steps and go talk to them. Anything else that we missed on that you
No, I don't
think
think so.
Okay, good. I think it's a beautiful ministry. I think it's something that's very needed. It's like I said, it's just really difficult in that position to know what to do. So I appreciate you talking to us about that. If you just joined us, we are talking to Deacon Bill Radio. So we're going to shift a little bit, and we have about 6 or so minutes left, and we'll talk a little bit about the 3 states of the church. And this came to us because Brianna, who is our social media manager here in the diocesan offices, typically goes to daily mass, and she heard a homily by you about the Church Militant, and she thought it was really great. And she said, you got to have him on Catholic Views to talk about this. So,
I'll have to speak to her.
yes. Say, hey, don't do that anymore, right? So can you tell us a little bit about these 3 states of the church and what they are and why this even matters?
Sure. So the 3 states of the church are the Church Triumphant, the Church Suffering, and the Church Militant.
Mm-hmm.
And the Church Triumphant, of course, are those of us who have died and made it into heaven.
Right.
As saints,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all saints in heaven.
Right.
The Church Suffering are those souls who have passed through this life and are now being purified in purgatory.
Okay.
And then the Church Militant is all of us here on earth. And it's interesting, the term, the Church Militant.
Yeah.
Because
it sounds warlike.
And it is.
So, yeah.
It is. Thanks for that observation. Actually, one of the things I discovered in preparing for a previous homily some time ago was that every time that Jesus tells people or invites people to follow me,
Mm-hmm.
that is a call to arms.
Okay, yeah.
It was at that time
Very true.
a call that generals and kings would proclaim when they were going to war.
Oh.
And Jesus used that term very purposely
Okay.
to make sure that people knew that this was a battle that they were being invited into. And, when you think about how the military recruits people, it's very similar.
Right.
But the difference is, and in both cases, people realize, or should realize anyway, that they're called to serve.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of our military, serve our country. In the case of the Church Militant, to serve God and one another. But we're given different weapons.
Okay.
So in the military, of course, they receive all their training and they receive their weapons, and there's bombs and airplanes and ships and all these things. And I don't want to downplay them. Of course, we're very appreciative of everything that our military does to keep us safe. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we didn't need them?
It would be.
and the weapons that we are given as the Church Militant are weapons like the Gospels and the sacred scriptures and the Holy Spirit and the command to love one another.
Right.
That is what we are called to as the Church Militant. And we are also called to pray for the church suffering.
Right. I was going to ask you about that because there's a connection between the 3 groups.
There really is.
Yeah.
So, our responsibility, and a lot of times I'll hear people say, like during the pandemic when everybody was closed in, I can't do anything. Well, we can always pray. We can pray for other people. We can pray for the souls in purgatory who are relying on us to that. We can pray for the saints to intercede for us for all our purposes, as well as praying to God. And we are never, as long as we are conscious and breathing on this earth, unable to pray in some way.
Right.
And so that is our role. And, a lot of times we forget that.
Right. So the Church Triumphant, the saints, are always praying for us and interceding for us.
That's
so
correct.
we're really very connected in the 3 groups. So you see us as more in service rather than in battle.
No, I think I see both, actually.
Okay.
The battle against evil in the world is as important as ever right now. And we need to stand up as Catholics, as part of the Church Militant, and fight all the misinformation and misunderstanding of our beliefs and the teachings of Jesus Christ.
I think sometimes we may feel like to use that word battle and fight, it feels a little uncomfortable, but I think you're giving us permission to say that's okay. That's
Absolutely.
what we're doing.
Yes, it is.
As Catholics.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear you say that because I was always a little uncomfortable with that. I'm like, ooh, should I say that? Sometimes the images, if you do a Google search or something for Church Militant, things like that, you'll see a picture of a soldier from the Crusades or something like that. And although there are some things that could be questionable, that we won't get into that.
Right.
But that really is the kind of image we should have, is that we are fighting for the church,
yes, we are.
for Christ.
Yep.
So there's probably a lot more we could say. I know you did not have just a 5-minute homily on that. So another time we may have to talk more about that. But we have to give Dr. Bergwald some time in the beginning. So
sure,
thank you.
We'll let him have
We'll
his
let
word.
him have a little, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in today. And again, if you're interested in helping or you need some of the funds from the Angel Lee Cronin Memorial Fund, you can reach out to the cathedral office, ask for Deacon Bill Radio. He probably may not be there, but they can get him a message, and you can get involved in any way you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Deacon
Thank you
Radio.
for having me.
You bet. All right. If you haven't already found us on social media, you can find us at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube at SF Diocese. So if you'd like to watch these on video, you certainly can if you have only seen them or listened to them on radio so far. That's it for us today. Join us again next week for more Catholic Views.